Hello everyone, welcome to our sermon preparation time. There's an opportunity for us to look at the readings for this coming Sunday, the 26th Sunday of Ordinary Time, Cycle A, to look at them and to reflect on what God is saying to us through these readings, because God continues to speak to us. So what are our readings? Well, the first reading is taken from the prophet Ezekiel, chapter 18, verses 25 to 28. Now, the first part of the book of Ezekiel is about the prophet challenging individuals, but also the whole house of Israel regarding their behavior. How faithful are they being? And so the prophet looks at their sins, which has caused them to be led into exile. And the prophet clearly reminds his listeners that each individual is responsible for their own behavior. They can't deflect and try and excuse themselves. Rather, they are called to look at themselves and change, convert themselves. And so this chapter of the prophet Ezekiel is looking at that. Then the responsorial psalm is Psalm 25. The second reading is taken, once again, from St. Paul's letter to the Philippians, chapter 2, verses 1 to 11. You remember that last week we started this letter of St. Paul. He is writing to the Philippians from Ephesus and also from jail. Obviously, the Philippians have a special place in St. Paul's heart, and that starts to come out now quite clearly in this extract for this coming Sunday. I mentioned last week that the theme of joy is a theme that runs through all of this letter, and that starts to be visible for us now as we read this little extract. Lasting joy is the theme, and it's based upon selflessness, a total giving and emptying. And if we read in verse 7, we see what Paul understands about that giving, that selflessness. It is a kenosis, a self-emptying. And when we are able to empty ourselves of all the things that we think are important, that we want, we're able to more clearly see what God wants and what others want. And that's what gives us joy. So a beautiful hymn in this second reading today. And this hymn of praise, of joy, thanksgiving, most probably predated St. Paul. So he's using other hymns and other sources in this letter. And then our gospel is taken from St. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 21, verses 28 to 32. Like last Sunday's gospel, this gospel story of those who go into the vineyard to work, the two sons, it only appears in Matthew's Gospel. It's not found in any of the other Gospels. If you remember carefully, I spoke about Matthew's community being made up predominantly of Jewish Christians, those men and women who had converted from the Jewish faith. So they had a strong Jewish history and background, culture and liturgy. But also in Matthew's community, the Gentile Christians are growing in number, and there is tension And so St. Matthew speaks into that tension. Well, most probably this is what this story is about too, this parable. The two sons, one perhaps the Jewish Christian and the other the Gentile Christian. And St. Matthew looks at our commitment, our yes. It's easy to say yes, isn't it? Sometimes we say yes just to get people off our back, to leave us alone. And we don't have any intention of doing what we have committed ourselves to. So often, yes just rolls off our tongue very easily. But the living that yes, the doing the yes, the commitment to that yes, sometimes is really difficult. And St. Matthew looks at that. Those of us who have been baptized, who have said yes, are we continuing to say yes? In our parish at this time, we are making our way through Stewardship Month, and we're looking at our commitment to missionary discipleship as well as Christian stewardship, giving. So easy, and very often we just fill in the pledge form or say, yes, I will do it, Father, because we think that's what Father wants to hear. But that's not what we want to hear. What we want to hear is that we are committed to growing the kingdom, and we'll do everything and anything we can to spread the gospel, that we will work in the vineyard. Not just say we will and then duck off and put our feet up, but that we will actually work in the vineyard. Growing the kingdom does take work. Missionary discipleship is challenging in many ways. It requires a giving of ourselves, not just glib, easy words, but rather real commitment. And that goes back to why. Why have I said yes? Why have I said I will labor? Why have I accepted baptism? So things for us to think about, especially for us in our parish, as we look at Christian stewardship, but also as we look at growing the kingdom. And so I hope you will join us this Sunday to celebrate Eucharist. I hope you will come in person, but if you're unable to, of course, we're still live streaming and recording our celebrations so that you can participate wherever you are in the world. I hope that these thoughts and ideas have challenged you, have caused you to think, and through prayer over the next few days, you will hear God speaking to you. God bless, and have a very good rest of the day. Bye-bye.